Hi, my name is Miguel Pulido. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions and Outreach Services at Stanislaus State. By now, you've already registered for classes and your first semester at Stan State is less than 1 week away. In this last video of our Start Strong series, we're connecting you with 3 professors at Stan State that will share with you some tips on how to start strong your first semester. I want to encourage you to please send us your questions using the chat feature and we'll answer them live towards the end of the program. We'll be giving away some Stan State merchandise so you could fill up your study space with some Stan State gear. But first, let's go over some giveaway rules. There is no purchase necessary, but entries are limited to currently accepted Stan State students only. Terms and conditions do apply. You can click on the link in the chat for the full contest rules. YouTube is not affiliated with this giveaway. We just want to give you some stuff, some Stan State merchandise to help you create a great spirited workspace this fall semester. To enter the giveaway, go ahead and leave a comment with the city that you're in so that we can all see where everyone is tuning in from. 1 entry per viewer, please. I'll check back at the end to announce who the winner is. So good luck to everyone. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to our first guest, Dr. Ellen Bell.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Miguel. As Miguel said, I'm Dr. Ellen Bell. I am in the Anthropology, Geography, and Ethnic Studies Department here at Stan State. I also work with the University Honors Program and the McNair Scholars Program. And I get to teach classes about Mesoamerican archaeology, where I did my research. You've got my old research site behind me here on the screen. And I'm really excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Our next guest is Betsy Udy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Betsy Udy. I'm the professor and director of the Gender Studies program, part of the Sociology, Gerontology, and Gender Studies department. I've been teaching a variety of courses. This fall, you might see me in Women's Lives and Sustainable Happiness, Gender Studies Research, and Gender and Sexuality and Pop Culture. But I teach courses related to LGBT issues in education, to gender theory, and issues related to gender and sustainability.
Thank you for joining us, Betsy. And now our final guest is Dr. Sebastian Sklovsky.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Miguel. Thank you for inviting me. My name is Sebastian Sklovsky. I'm a professor at the Criminal Justice Department. And my work basically focuses on police violence. That's what I study. And I also teach courses on police violence and also general courses in the criminal justice program, some research courses and other courses related to law enforcement.
Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Sklovsky. So now each of our panelists will go around and they'll share with you some tips on how you can start strong your first semester. We understand that this semester is very unusual, completely unlike you've ever imagined your first semester in college to be, but that is no reason to not have the best semester yet. And to help you achieve that, we're going to first hear from Dr. Bell.
Thanks, Miguel. One thing I want to say most of all is that we're really happy you're here. And if you can internalize that and really believe that and know that that's how everyone on campus, from faculty, continuing students, administrators, and staff feels, I really think that's going to help you find your footing and your home here on Stan State's campus, virtual or otherwise, as quickly as possible. With that in mind, when you're someplace you're happy to be and you have people who are happy to have you there, you usually like to engage with them, right? You don't go to an event or party to hang out and not talk to anyone. We want you to be in contact with us. And I think one of the best things you can do is to reach out to your faculty members, to other students in your classes, get involved in the clubs. There are lots of virtual ways to do that. And just to really be as engaged as you possibly can. We know that's a tall order in a virtual environment, and we're setting up very actively lots of different ways to help you do that. So we're going to reach out from our end. Please do us the favor of reaching out to us from your end because we really do want to connect with you. And that's kind of, I think, my biggest tip. Well, I'm sure we'll have other things to talk about along the way, but I think I'm going to start with that.
Those are all great tips. Thank you so much. Would you like to add anything to that, Dr. Udy?
Well, first of all, I want to completely echo everything that Dr. Bell said. We really, really want you to be engaging and connecting with us. We know that that's one of the things that supports student success in general, that all of the research about college students says the more that you interact with your peers and your professors, the more that you're actively talking to people about not only your academic interests, but your out of class interests, your career interests, your personal hobbies, all of those kind of things, that the more that you share that, the more successful you are in class. And all the research says that's amplified for anybody who's taking online courses. And so it is really important to try to have those forms of connection. One of the things we know is that in our Tri-County region, we have lots of parts of the area that aren't really well served by broadband. And we want to make sure that you're really paying attention before classes start about how you're going to be connecting with the university, and so that you can connect into your classes. You see behind me a picture of Strawberry, California. I live up in Twain Harte, and we have really poor internet access in many portions of this campus. And one of the things I've done is borrowed one of the free hotspots that the university provides so that I have better internet access in my home. As a student, you have access to borrow from the campus laptops, tablets, Wi-Fi hotspots, which give you internet access for no charge to you. And they're also starting to make even some Wi-Fi boosters available to help some students who have access, but it's not very good access. So one of the things I really hope to start strong you do is to think about what are the technology needs in your house? What are you going to need for your success as a student, and how quickly can you get those things together? We know some of you have children or siblings in the household that are sharing that 8 to 5 time while being students. We know that some of you have roommates and family members who are working from home as well, and you're all sharing the same broadband or maybe the same hardware. And so we know you're going to have to work some of these things around, and I hope that you start planning some of that in advance and calling upon the university to support you where you need it if you need that technology. And I guess the other part of that is making sure that you're scheduling yourself time to be a student, but also scheduling yourself time to not be a student. You are living and working through a pandemic, and this is an extraordinary time to be choosing to be a student. And we are so grateful to you, to Stan State, for making this happen for yourself. We're really impressed that you're trying to progress on your academic goals in the midst of all of this challenge and disarray. And sometimes you're going to want to schedule time to study and your mind just can't be on it. And you're going to have to give yourself grace to say, that's okay. This is a pandemic. There are lots of stressful things going on. And the Central Valley is, a hotspot. It is an area that is particularly challenging. All of us know people who have gotten sick. All of us know people who are daily, having to work on the front lines and putting themselves at risk. And you are some of those people that are on the front lines and have been sick. And we want to take all of that into consideration. And we faculty have been planning for this for months. We are so thrilled that the CSU decided, way back at the start of summer, that we were going online, because we had lots of time to prep and plan for this. Unlike the K-12 schools around here, we've been in online mode since beginning of June, and we're ready for you, and we're going to work with you, and we're all just going to muddle through parts of this together, and we are going to soar and celebrate in some ways together, because we are so happy to be together. Stan State is not under-enrolled this fall. We are overfilled because we're prepared, we're ready, and people know that we're going to be able to help you out. There are other schools that are struggling for enrollments. We do not have that problem. We're ready for you. We're excited you're here.
Thank you so much for that. Actually, we have a question from a student regarding something that you just said. Dr. Yudi, a student is asking, how can I get a Wi-Fi hotspot? Because my Wi-Fi has been getting slow, because the reason that many of my siblings are using Zoom and take up some of the internet capacity. So can you share how students can get a hotspot?
Sure. So the Campus Office of Information Technology, OIT website, has a special form that students fill out, that you just tell them what kind of tech that you need, and they can arrange for you either to pick it up from either the Stockton or Turlock campuses, or they can mail it to your home. And we'll put a link to that order form in the chat for you.
There you go. That's how you get a hotspot. Thank you so much for clarifying that. Now we're moving on to Dr. Sklovsky. Do you mind sharing some tips to help our students start strong in their fall semester?
Yes, for sure. There's not a lot to add what Ellen and Betsy said, I think that those are the basics and the most important things. But I do want, first of all, welcome you guys to Stan State and coming here in these times, in these difficult times. We really appreciate and we really value the efforts that you're making. One thing that I do want to share is I've been here for 2 years. I'm starting my third year here, and so I'm the newest guy in the room here. And one of the things that I really like from Stan State is the sense of community. We are a big university, but we still have a little bit of a small town mentality from the bright side of that mentality, not from the bad side of that mentality. There is a strong sense of community. There's a strong sense of working hard to make us better, to enjoy together, and to work together. So one of the things that you need, and that's something that doesn't happen naturally. We need to work through, and we work really hard to create that sense of community and to help each other and so on. And of course, there's fights here and there, but we try to get along as best as we can. So one of the first tips that I do want to share is that you guys you need to engage with the community so you can start feeling part of it. So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't happen automatically. You need to, it's an effort that we all make, and you guys also need to make, especially in this world that we're not face to face and we're not interacting and we're not, crossing each other in the library or the quad or in other spaces. It will require from all of us to make a little bit more of an effort to, contribute to this community. The other important thing that I do want to let share is be patient. Be patient with yourself first and foremost, and also be patient with your peers and with your professors. We've been working very hard through the summer. We all had our plans for the summer. Some of us had research plans that were canceled. Some of us had also, part of the research was also visiting family that was canceled. For those of us who have family far away, we had to cancel all those stuff and so on. And, many of us hadn't taken a single day off in the summer or very few days off in the summer. So we are starting the semester very excited, but also with a lot of work on our backs. So please be patient. We are also learning and we are also having to adapt. So we try to do our best, and that's something important. And the last thing that I want to share, and then with the questions I can share more, is enjoy being a student. The college experience is not only about getting a degree. The degree is the final point, but the process matters and matters a lot. And the college experience is it's an experience of personal transformation and of collective transformation, not only of learning new concepts and new ideas and getting a degree at the end of the day and jumping into a new career or whatever you want to make with it and so on. So try to enjoy as much as you can of the student experience. There are clubs, there are things going on, but also within yourself and within your environment. Don't try to rush and get out from here as quick as possible. We don't want you out, we want you here. So try to find those ways to enjoy this experience.
Great tips. Thank you so much for what you shared. And one thing that really resonated is that we are ready for you. And you're taking a very bold decision to start college right now when things could be really up in the air and it could be really scary, but you're being very brave and we recognize that bravery and we want to celebrate you once you get here, and we're ready for you to start. So to the faculty, we know that many of our students are the first in their families to go to college. We learned earlier today by President Jen that over 70% of our students are first generation college students. What advice would you give to some of these students who you will be the first professor that they ever meet in a college setting? And given that also, what advice would you give students to build rapport with professors in an online setting? Who would like to answer?
Well, I'll jump in. Yeah, we do have a majority of our students are first generation students. And And in addition to having a lot of first generation students, we're a Hispanic serving institution, and there's a lot of overlap between our first gen students and our Hispanic serving identity. And and in some ways, we have many students at this campus who aren't first gen, but prior generations participated in higher education in other countries, in other kind of contexts that are different from our own. And so some of us that weren't first gen students were also having sort of a first gen experience in a US university. And the good news is, because Stan State has so many first gen students, responding and supporting those kind of needs is part of our culture from the get-go, that we recognize that most people may not have family members who can help them interpret university policies and processes. Most of them don't have family that understand the way in which workloads go. Now, the truth be told, nobody's family had people go to college in the midst of a pandemic. Nobody's family had people go to college with, all online courses and, transitions to all of these kind of things. So in many cases, everybody's starting out on slightly unstable footing, but everybody's starting out on sort of equal footing in that way. And so we're kind of all in this together at this point. I would say that there are some things that are very helpful. If you go on the Stan State homepage, very first thing you see at the top of the page is, I'm going to refresh my homepage here. At the top left corner, it says Fall 2020. And if you click on that link, it gives you all sorts of special information for students that help you understand exactly some of the things you need related to wait lists, contacting departments, how you get text support, how you go to the bookstore, what the library work is doing, how you get parking permits. Some of these things that might not have been made so visible in the past are very visible right off of the Stan State homepage, because they're different for even the continuing students. It's different for everybody. And so as new students, as first gen students, you're not necessarily starting out at a deficit. You're not having to unlearn anything that we used to do. You're just starting fresh with what you're doing. So that for students link is really important. And there's also some quick information on some of the events and the COVID-19 information, all that kind of stuff I think could be really important to you. So I encourage you definitely to go there. The other thing I would encourage is faculty are being much more intentional in starting the classes about making clear some of the resources that are available to you. And you're going to get information about that sent to you primarily through Stan email. And so it's really important to regularly check your Stan mail. You will be receiving, if you haven't already, emails from your faculty members telling you where to find your course for the first day of classes. And you need to be able to check your email to find that information. And the most important thing is to ask questions. Anytime you don't know something, just ask a question. And you don't have to start it with, I'm sorry to bother you, but you don't have to, I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to this. Just ask the question. We are so happy when you ask questions because then we know what we need to make more visible to other students as well. And so please ask questions, use the website. It's not always the easiest website to search. If you have a hard time finding it, go do a Google search and type in Stan State and the thing you're looking for. You might find it faster than if you do our search engine. There are people that are overhauling the website right now, but it's not as good as it could be. But just ask questions. And the other thing I would say is everybody does better when they have at least one other sort of buddy confidant, connection in school. So if you don't already know somebody who's going to be attending Stan State with you, in those first couple of days of classes, try to find somebody else that you can connect with. All of your classes are going to have activities that will help you meet and learn some things about your other classmates. Try to find somebody that you feel a bit of a connection to, and exchange contact information, check in with them, make some priorities to reconnect with them and learn from each other in addition to reaching out to your faculty members. But I will tell you, the faculty at Stan State are here because we like working at an institution that has first gen students, that is a Hispanic serving institution, that has small class sizes, so we get to know our students better than other places. I went to an undergrad university where my entire first quarter of classes, I didn't have a class less than 350 students. We don't have classrooms bigger than 120 students on this entire campus. So, we don't have those big classes. We want you to have connections. And part of that is because the faculty are going to be available to you.
Thank you. We've been getting a few questions from YouTube. One of them is a student who's wondering, and you kind of briefly mentioned it, Dr. Yudi, was that students are able to get a permission number to add a course from the waitlist. So the question the student is asking is specifically what to do with a permission number. How would a student go about adding the class with a permission number? Can you please elaborate?
Sure, so I can jump on that. What's very nice, Enrollment Services has some tutorial how-to guides, and I'm going to put the link to that in my chat, which then people will switch over to the YouTube for you. But basically, using the same program that you use to register for classes, there's a box you can fill in with a permission number that lets you add a full course or add a course to which you don't meet all the prerequisites for. And the instructor will give you that permission number, and then you're going to be getting the link for the tutorial on it. It's a very easy process to do. If for some reason it doesn't work, get back in touch with your professor and have them give you a new permission number. Every now and then, for no good reason, there's a little glitch and the permission number doesn't work. If you're trying to add classes that still have space in them or space on the wait list, you will be able to keep doing that until 9:59 p.m. the day before classes start. So Sunday the 23rd at 9:59, we shut off all wait lists and all abilities to add. Starting at 10 o'clock the day before classes start, the only way you can add a class is with a permission number from an instructor. And you also should have gotten an email from the university with some tips for new students. And part of that gives you some information on how to try to add a class that you're not on the wait list for already. So some information on, how you get a hold of the instructor, how you request permission, if they can let you in on the, the first class Zoom session to, lurk around until they can find out if they can add you, those kind of things. So watch for that email that was sent to all students about middle of last week, I think.
So check your email for more information. Thank you so much. That was super helpful. Some of the questions that we're getting from students are, they're really trying to conceptualize what online learning is going to look like this semester. Some of the questions that we've gotten are about group assignments and group work. Do you guys expect group work to be really present in the fall semester with online learning? The second question that we've gotten about this whole online learning experience is, how would you advise students to go about creating study groups in an online setting? Any tips that you can have for students on those regards? Who would like to tackle on this question?
See, I can start in on that. I'm sure Betsy and Sebastian will have things to add too. One thing that I think is important to notice, and you've probably heard a lot about this already, is that there are two, or really kind of three different ways that classes are being offered, right? So there are some classes that in the schedule that you have built actually have a day and a time. Those are synchronous classes. You'll probably have some kind of video conferencing meeting, usually Zoom, where you'll actually be just like this, talking to faculty members and other classmates during that time. Others are asynchronous, where you're going to log on to either Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, Google, and do your classes that way. Some will do a kind of a combination of those things. For me, again, every faculty member is going to do things differently. So as Betsy had said before, the best thing to do is email your faculty member and ask them if you have questions about how class is going to work. For my classes, I like to do a lot of synchronous work. And so what I'll do is have students in class, and then I'll do one of two things for group work. Either I'll give you time during class using a Zoom feature called breakout rooms. So I can actually put you into small groups with other students, and then I can kind of like bop around from room to room and check in on you and answer questions and things like that. So it literally is like being in a classroom where you're working in small groups, only it's much quieter because you don't hear all the other small groups around you talking. The other thing you can do is that one of the benefits of being a Stan State student is that you have a Stan State email, which gives you access to our Stan State institutional subscription to Zoom. And so you can actually create your own Zoom meetings and even do breakout rooms within those as well. And so to do study groups, for example, as I think it was Betsy was mentioning before, getting in touch, or maybe Sebastian, getting in touch with other students, getting their email, so you can then invite them to a group meeting on Zoom that you can host. You don't have to have a faculty member to do all of that. So there are lots of different ways to do that. In terms of expectations, again, each faculty member will have different expectations about the amount of group work and what that's going to look like. So ask your individual professors. But as we've mentioned before, we're living through this pandemic and fire season and everything else too. And so we do know that there are circumstances that come up. So let us know. We can't, collectively work with you to co-create assignments that are going to work for everybody if we don't know you have needs that we can easily meet. Sometimes it won't be possible, but sometimes it is. So always ask. And so it'll be varied professor to professor, but you do have tools, whether it's a chance to get together during class, or you have access to the software that'll let you do that on your own whenever you want. So you can have a study group at 2 in the morning without needing your faculty member there if you and everybody in your group wants to do that.
Great tips, thank you.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead, Dr.
No, one
Spolsky.
thing to add to what Ellen was saying is, as we were saying, it's important. So just Ellen and Betsy were saying, there's a transition that you do from high school to college that it's quite complicated. I remember I remember back when I did that transition, and you need to. So for me, for example, one of the most difficult things was to learn how to read again. In high school, we were used to read in a way that generally doesn't help you very much in college, especially for the amount of readings that we have to do and the amount of things we have to do and the time we have. So you need to learn how to read and so on. And for me, was essential to have classmates, and study groups that helped me. When I started, I'm from Uruguay. When I started studying there were, in my first class, I remember we are around 400 people in that classroom. And immediately you find friends, and we would go 2 hours before just to find a seat. So we would rotate and that and so on. And so that's one thing that, so you need to find those students, those people that you feel comfortable and so on. And I know that in the online world it's difficult, but most of the professors that I know, they are creating spaces inside their classrooms to do that. Some of them are going to do it through through Zoom and the Zoom meetings. Some of them are going to do it embedded into the program. So for example, in my case, all of my courses have a special discussion board that it's open all the time for students to interact. So if you don't feel comfortable sending a specific email to a student or arranging a Zoom meeting, you can always go there and put your questions, and somebody will probably answer. In the worst case scenario, it's going to be me that answers that questions. But the idea that that's not happening, it's like it's a hangout room, and I call it that way. And I know that many of us are doing those type of things. So again, you need to be much more proactive. When I left Uruguay and I went to study abroad, and then I came to the US, one of the things that it took me time to learn, but it's something very important for you guys to know, is the concept and the idea of office hours. There were no office hours, and there was no contact beyond outside of the classroom with my professors when I was in Uruguay. But here there is. And they're not going to be physical office hours, but all of us are going to have Zoom office hours, and it's important for you guys to come. For us, it's very important. It's a way for us to get to know you guys and learn how to how can we do our work better. So you need to be a little bit more proactive in the online world that you would be in the in the regular face-to-face. But it's very important. So and reach out. We know that some people have difficulties, and getting out there and so on. But I can assure you that the vast majority of people that I know here in Stan State, we are nice people, and we like to talk with students. As Betsy was saying, we have this job because we are committed to education and we are committed to this place. So we really want to be here. And we really want to engage with you guys. So reach out because it's important for all of us.
That's so true, right? All of us that work in higher ed, we're here because we have a passion for working with students and to help you guys succeed and thrive. Um, One question that we've been getting, and you kind of touched about it a little bit, it's a perfect transition. You mentioned that students have to learn to read a little differently, right? So let's talk about reading. Let's talk about books. Students are asking questions about books. When to buy the books, they need to buy all of the books. Are there any websites that you recommend for them to purchase books? Are there any innovative ways that they can possibly save money on book purchases? Who wants to tackle on this question?
I can jump very briefly. So the first thing that you need to do, and I would suggest you do it every week, is read the syllabus. And you're going to hear your professor saying that over and over and over again. Read it and read it and read it. And you may feel a little bit overwhelmed at the beginning when you read it for the first time and you see the amount of readings and assignments and things you need to do. So, as I said at the beginning, be patient, calm down. But it's important because the most important information for every course is there or should be there. But in most cases, it is there. So it depends a lot on the courses that you had. We have a bookstore here at Stan State that you can access the readings and so on. Sometimes it's cheaper, sometimes it's not. There are other places that you can access and so on. From an off-the-record, unofficial perspective, you can always reach out to former students. What I would suggest, and this is my experience, is I know books are expensive, but you need to see, sometimes books are an investment also. I wouldn't buy all the books, I never jumped to buy all the books, but there were certain books that I already felt that they were important. They were important because they interested me. They were important because I was curious about the topic. They were important because I saw myself going in that direction, or because they were classics in the area, in which you are, or the career that you're doing. So those books are an investment because those books, you're going to go back to them over and over again. So buying books is not, it's not an extra cost. Depends on the book, but it's not something extra. It's something you need to see it a little bit as an investment. But articles and other type of journals and so on, you have access to them through the library website, so you can get them there. You also have access to books on the library, so you don't need to, you can borrow them. And the library has created a whole system now with COVID that allows you still to borrow those books and get it. A lot of the books are in, we have electronic copies, so you can access through the library to the electronic copies. But again, it's part of being proactive and trying to figure it out and reaching out to, other students that have taken those courses and they may be willing to borrow and do that type of trading.
One of the things that I'm sensing from students from the questions that we've been getting is that a lot of anxiety regarding being on a wait list, right? One question in particular is a student is asking, will I still be able to add a class if I don't have a permission number by the first day of class? Dr. Bell?
Yeah, so that was first off, I had the big nod, yes. Yeah, so you absolutely can add a class. We've actually, I think, Betsy, correct me if I'm wrong, this might be the first year that we have an extended period actually where you can add classes all the way up until what's called census date, which is about a month after classes start. I think it's September 21st this year. You can also drop a class. So that's the other thing that's important to know. And if you drop the class before census date, before like the 21st of September, then it's like you were never in it. It completely disappears from your record. So that's an important thing to know. If you feel like you're tackling something, you're in over your head, you can absolutely drop that class. If it's a requirement, you'll need to pick it up again later on, but you're not trapped. You're not trapped outside of a class if you don't have a permission number, and you're not trapped in a class that's not going well for you, or that has just, what you do is going to change. Another thing that's going to be very important this semester and actually all the way through college is being flexible and also being curious about yourself and kind of where your interests are going, because a lot of students will change their mind about what they plan to study, what they're going to major in as you go through. So it's never a mistake unless you force yourself to do something that's not in your best interest, right? And we have mechanisms in place. Even if you get past September 21st, there's a petition system in place to either add or drop a class later on. So get into the class as soon as you can, contact the professor. One thing I'd also add too is with our particular situations, if the class has in the schedule a date and a time, so that means that they're going to be live meetings, when you ask the professor for permission number, kind of gently prompt them to send you the Zoom link for that first class meeting so you can attend, right? We're still figuring all this out, getting used to it. So just that little prompt like, oh, so thank you for the permission number. What's the Zoom link for me to join that first class? Is going to be helpful. Then you're not left trying to find it. Just be in touch and know that you have time. The earlier you can get into a class, the better, because then you're going on the assignments, you're part of the course, but you can all the way up until September 21st with the faculty member's permission, which is what the permission number means, add the class.
And
That
I'd
is so
like to
helpful.
follow up on that. Just to follow up a little bit on that, usually this kind of timing of the semester, the faculty member isn't going to give you a permission number into the first day of classes, because if we give you permission numbers now, if you're on our wait lists or things, if we give you permission numbers, then a whole new group of students will get on the wait list and also hope to get in, because of course they do if they're number 1 or 2 on the wait list. And so most of us at this point won't add any new students, won't give people permission numbers until late Sunday night, early Monday morning, so that we don't have a flurry of students with anticipations of getting in who get disappointed by that. The other things that you should know is when you use permission numbers through our enrollment services system, the system has a lag between when you enroll and when it goes through all the processes and updates you in the learning management systems, into Blackboard, into Canvas, into Moodle. And so it could be 24 hours after you've turned in your permission number before you see yourself in the Blackboard or Canvas or Moodle instance of the course, even if you see it on their schedule. And so you might, when you get a permission number for an instructor, ask them if they can manually add you to the course. For most of us, when we were teaching face-to-face, you were still in the class, you were still getting the syllabus, you were still getting access to things. But when we're doing it online, all professors aren't necessarily in the habit of doing that manual add-in into the management system. And that's important to do for the faster enrollment in the course. A lot of classes, students by policy are supposed to attend the first day of class or contact the faculty member within 24 to 48 hours of the start of the class. And if they don't, then we can start pulling people in off the wait list to over-enroll. Because we know that it's new to all of you to be doing this online stuff, we're probably going to have a little more wiggle room, a little more time to try to track down students who didn't show up the first couple of days. Maybe you were looking in the wrong place. Maybe you didn't realize there was a Zoom session you were supposed to be at, those kind of things. And so we might be a few days longer before we acknowledge who really isn't attending our classes and able to pull in some more people off our wait list, or even people who weren't on the wait list that we can add in. And so we're going to need you as best as you can to really show up the first day of class and make yourself known to the professors, but also to acknowledge we're going to need a little extra time to make sure that anybody who is having tech problems, who is confused about things, doesn't get accidentally dropped from a class that they really wanted to be in. So we are going to do our best to help with those things. If you're somebody who doesn't have a full load of classes yet right now, if you don't have 12 units to be a full-time student, or don't have the number of units you want to make the progress that you want, I encourage you to contact the Academic Success Center advisors and see if they can give you some advice on which classes might be good backups if you don't get in the ones that are your first choices. You might also be able to contact the folks in your academic department, especially transfer students. Upper division courses, they're going to have some much better advice for you than the lower division GE might be. So please, if you don't have the number of units you want to have for fall, and you're not 1 or 2 on a wait list, contact an advisor and check in their best advice for what are the next spots that you might try for. Because we want you as quickly as possible to have the load that you need to make the progress you want and to be aid eligible if you're trying to get financial aid. So reach out, Academic Success Center or your department offices. People will do their very best to give you information before Monday.
One thing that I do want to add in general, not specifically for now, but for the rest of the years that you're here. So when I left Uruguay and I went to study in a different country, I had very little knowledge of the language. And I arrived to the university and they gave me a piece of paper and said, these are the courses that you need to take. You have, these, in 3 years, once you finish all the requirements, come back and we'll sign and we'll give you the degree and manage. There was no orientation, there was no student orientation, there was no start strong, there was no advising, no anything. Just deal with it. And so here we have a very strong advising program. So there's an advising center that you can always go and talk with advisors there, and they will help you, navigate these waters and so on. Many of our departments, they have incorporated into their program mandatory advising, or they recommend advising, that you can always go to a professor who becomes your advisor and will guide you, through your career, which classes you need to take, when you need to take them, and so on and so on. My suggestion is that you need to rely on yourself for this. You cannot rely on others. You can ask for help, and you should ask for help, but you need to rely on yourself. So what I did is, I remember after going through that, shock and trauma, one weekend, I sat down in front of the computer and I started Googling all the courses that I needed to take and so on. And I created a 3 years actually was the degree. So a 3-year program of which class I had to take every semester and which courses I wanted to take. So when registration came, I was already ready. These are the courses that I need to take. If I don't take them this semester, I'm going to get, back down. So I need to take them now. And then these are the courses that I want to take. It's not the end of the world if I don't. And these are the alternative options. So my suggestion is, when you get over the shock of the first weeks or the first month, sit down, check your program. And if you don't have a major decided, just make a general list of what courses or what areas you want to look and so on. But if you already have a major decided, look at the requirements and make a plan, make a study plan. Okay, there's Stan Planner. I think that can help you also. But that's something that I would really take a couple of days to plan ahead of time. And you have to be flexible, and things are going to change. But plan ahead of time and be really responsible on that. Don't just as an example, I advise dozens of students, and I try to do my best, but sometimes we make mistakes. The problem here is that if I make a mistake on the advising, I'm not going to pay for that mistake. My advisee is going to pay, the consequences for that. I'm going to feel really bad, and I'm going to do my best to try to correct that. But it's, so you need to really work on that.
So I love a question that we just received, because I would be wondering too. A student is wondering, will there be a requirement for students to have their cameras on during class if it's through Zoom? And as professors, can you talk about like how it would feel, what the experience is like for you on your end to be in front of a room with a bunch of blank screens as well? I think maybe that would encourage students to try on their camera.
I'll jump in quickly. Yes, I want to see all the faces, and I am going to ask everybody to put on their cameras. However, I'm also conscious about the internet problems. Not only about the internet problems, but also spaces and different areas and so on. In my courses, for example, we don't have weekly Zoom meetings. I have like a hybrid course. Half of the time it's on your own, and then we'll have regular meetings throughout the semester, but it's not going to happen every week. So in that way, I feel more comfortable in asking a little bit more from my students, or demanding a little bit more when the Zoom meeting comes, because there's not going to be a lot of Zoom meetings. But I also am aware that not everybody has a private room in which they can be isolated and things happen and so on. Just to give you an example, a couple of weeks ago, I had a student emailing me that if she could participate, like the Zoom meeting, she's at work, if she could do it, while she's at work. And I said, like, well, you should ask your work, not me, but I don't have a problem with that. So that's, you need to communicate with your professors ahead of time if you know that you're going to have some type of issues. with a camera or with a space that you're going to be in, and so on. It's really, for me, that I am not I don't have a lot of experience in the online world. I am not super fond of it. I find it very difficult speaking to names, or pictures in the screen. I miss the body language. I miss the expressions and so on. It's difficult. Although when I am a participant, oftentimes I close my video cameras and so on, because it's also difficult for me that people are watching me all the time. Maybe it's the fact that I study policing. Maybe that's part of the problem. But again, my suggestion is talk to your professors ahead of time before the Zoom meeting starts. Ask them what are going to be the requirements before that. If you know that you're going to have a problem with the camera or with having a private space, or beyond the technology issues that Betsy already talked, communicate with your professor. Let them know. Let them know ahead of time. Don't tell them the day before or 30 minutes before the Zoom meeting starts, because we're going to be super stressed because of the Zoom meeting, so we're not going to answer. And of course, don't let them know afterwards. So communication is key here.
There are, the faculty have been having conversations about this because there are a lot of different viewpoints on, whether it's important to require or not require people to be, physically be visible. And we recognize that there are all sorts of reasons why people might not want their cameras on, and some of it is, technology-based, tech-based, Wi-Fi signal, that kind of stuff, and some of it is that you don't want to invite people into your home. Maybe you have to be doing this in a bedroom, and maybe you don't want people in your bedroom, seeing where you're sleeping, see what's going on. Some of us as faculty don't feel quite comfortable having to be in your bedroom and invading your private space like that. Many of us are encouraging students, if you have the capacity on your devices, to use a virtual background. 3 out of the 4 of us here today have our virtual backgrounds up as ways that you can share some of your identities, things that you're interested in, but also that you're not having to share with the world what your space looks like. And some of us just aren't comfortable sharing our personal, and don't need to be sharing our personal home spaces with other folks. And it may not be your home space that you're coming from. So we know that there are some ways in which you can make your background less invasive in your home, and we can give you some tips on that if that's something that's going on. One of the reasons that faculty may also like the cameras on is that we want to know that you're actually really there, and that you just haven't appeared to show up in the class. And so we will be doing some things in our classes that actually are forcing some interactions, forcing some stuff, so that we know if you're actually just turning on the screen or having yourself on a video loop. Because we really, if you're going to be in class, we want you to be in class and be participating. Most of the faculty that are teaching classes that have Zoom sessions are going to be recording them and making them available to students to view who weren't able to physically attend the class. And so there are some a variety of different kind of tech things going on that give you access to class if you can't do it in particular kind of ways. But I really agree with Sebastian that communicating with your instructor about this is going to be important. Many of them will send information ahead of the first class to share what their expectations are, and others will develop expectations during that first class as part of course norming about what are we going to expect from ourselves and each other in this regard. And if you aren't going to be showing yourself visibly, how are we going to get a good sense of you? Some folks sometimes will have their cameras off except when they're speaking. And so that it's static for most of the time, but if you're the one that's bringing up a question or comment, you do that, or that it's static in the main groups, but that you have videos going when you're in breakout rooms, when you're in smaller group conversations. So there may be different norms depending on the instructor. But if you don't have the technology to participate in particular ways, let your faculty member know so that that isn't used against you in your participation and expectations for the course.
Thank you both for that. I'm sure that clarifies a lot of questions students were asking. So I do want to make an announcement of our giveaway winner before we go into our final thoughts and our conclusion. So let's see who the winner is. Congratulations to Ana Ruiz. You are the winner. Please send us an email with your Stan State email, your mailing address, and your shirt size, and we'll send you your prize right away. Check the chat for the address. So send us an email to that address and we'll get you your prize to your door as soon as possible. So congratulations, Ana Ruiz. Now we're gonna go ahead and go with some final remarks, some closing remarks from our professors, if you have some. So anyone want to go first?
See, I'll jump in. So my main sort of closing remark is have fun. We actually usually have a really good time in our classes. We love working with students. We enjoy it a whole lot more when you're having a good time too. This is a special time for you in your life. You're a college student. Have a good time, be curious, try new things, and ask questions when you're not quite sure, which direction you want to go. But most of all, just have a good time. You could be doing something else if it's really painful. So have a good time and enjoy your time here. We're definitely looking forward to enjoying it with you.
And yes, absolutely. Have a good time. Give yourself the time to be a student. When we're working from home, it's harder to remember that we are full-time students, or that we're working full-time or doing some of those things. Make sure you block out time that's your time, that you can be a student, that's uninterrupted me time to be a student, to learn, to interact with other people. Think about the time you would have blocked out coming to the physical campus, the time you would have blocked out for commuting, the time you would have blocked out for being in the library, doing some of those things, and schedule some of that in so that that this is my set time to be part of the Stan State experience, and that you can use that. Email your friends in the class, FaceTime with them, do whatever it is that helps you connect with the people that are part of your college experience. And play too, because you're more interesting when you come to class having life experiences that you're bringing to it. So don't only be a student. Don't feel like because you're at home that you're sort of shut into this. We want you to do safe things. We want you to practice social distancing. We want you not to put yourself at risk, but we also want you to be happy and get some exercise, eat well, do those kind of things that make you a happy, healthy, good person, that you can come to class and have the mental and emotional energy you can to be a really good student. We're excited. We want you to have the curiosity, and we want you to have the health to really be able to participate.
Thank you. Sebastian, anything you'd like to add before we close?
Yeah, I want to join in the excitement. Enjoy. As we were talking, it's not only about the degree, it's about the process and the experience. And I know we are in very particular times, and we are very much hopeful that this, will end at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. But that doesn't mean that, you cannot enjoy and you cannot, be happy and healthy and do the stuff that you like and so on. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your professors, of course, but be patient with yourself also. You're not gonna earn the degree in your first semester and not in your first week of class. So, take your time, breathe, and enjoy and engage. It's being part of a community. It's getting to know new people. Some of the people you're gonna know are gonna be your friends for a long, long time, hopefully for life. Many of us here can tell you that many of our closest friends, we met them, on our first day in college. And let's see the bright side. You're going to be able in 10, 20 years to say, I met a very good friend through Zoom. And even if it was not a face-to-face class, but I met him or her, or, in a Zoom class. So take time for that. Don't be don't let your anxiety to manage and learn and study and read to ruin the student experience, which is also about having fun.
There you go. You heard it directly from your professors, the folks that are going to see you grow throughout the next 4 years and help you achieve that success that you've always dreamed of. I just want to add that you're making such a good decision and smart decision by deciding to participate and engage in higher education. Your life is going to be so much better because of it. And we just want to wish you the very best in your first semester. We understand this is not how you expected it to be, but I have no doubt in my mind that it's going to be a great experience for you if you just immerse yourself in it and you reach out to the people that are here to support you. If you liked this video, do not forget to hit that like button and subscribe, and watch our other videos of the Start Strong series. You'll find a lot of great information about financial aid, support services on campus, and a bunch of other things that can help you start strong your first semester. Have a great one.